Thomas, today we're going to be decoding Trump tweets of June 26th and 27th, and wow, these are really exciting tweets. The first one is June 26, 8:52 p.m. Congratulations to Governor Henry McMaster on your big election win. South Carolina loves you. We are all proud of you and Peggy, Henry McMaster.
It's a big win, and we were going to say, oh, because the effort that they put into it, we did say that they're going to win because, Trump put so much effort into it. It was just beautiful. And what that shows is, when you have a Terry McAuliffe as a governor of Virginia, that shows how bad it can get when you got bad governors. So he's very, very concerned about certain states. And it seems to me, Betsy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I can only remember one single loss of anyone Trump has supported, and that's because Steve Bannon got all involved and messed it all up. So basically, it's like, I don't know, is this 100% of whoever he supports, whoever he says to vote for, they win? That's amazing.
Well, I also like it because it closes the door to Nikki Haley ever getting back and holding that position.
Oh, good point.
Yes, because, we saw what happened there. We saw the quick sleight of hand that was played early on in the campaign with that move. Okay, the next tweet. Tremendous win for Congressman Dan Donovan. You showed great courage in a tough race. New York and my many friends on Staten Island have elected someone they have always been very proud of. Congratulations.
Well, there you go. Sounds like another win. Man, I need a sip of cappuccino. You got any more cheesecake, honey?
I don't know about this Dan Donovan. Can you tell me anything about him?
Except that he's, someone that Trump has known because it's New York now, and he's also showing the contradistinction between the socialist, far left-leaning, almost fascist person who wants to impeach him before she's even elected, who is also a New York person who just got elected. So he's showing the distinction between them.
Well, actually, I think what we're seeing, what all Americans are seeing, is that we are shifting into a new type of two-party. American Democrats who see where the left is taking their party. They don't want any part of it. And they are moving into this movement we call MAGA. It's more than just the election of Donald Trump. It really is about bringing back the rule of law and the Constitution in our country. And so more Democrats. Did you see that Brad Parscale tweeted out that at that last event they had, was it in Duluth, that 60% of the attendees were independents and Democrats. So we welcome everyone. We have a big tent, and all we ask is that you MAGA. The next tweet is June 26th. Wow, big Trump hater Congressman Joe Crowley, who many expected was going to take Nancy Pelosi's place, just lost his primary election. In other words, he's out. That is a big one that nobody saw happening. Perhaps he should have been nicer and more respectful to his president.
Yes, that is a wonderful thumbing of his nose at the Democratic contender for becoming one of the major Democratic leaders in the Congress and taking Pelosi's place. And it was fairly set up. She just won't leave. And then this is just the show. It's the slap across the face that we were just talking about. If you want to be a socialist, if you want to be a Democrat so far leaning to socialist, you'll get elected. And then once you're elected, then you can say you're a Democrat. Right now, Bernie has changed. He says he's no longer a socialist right now. He's going to be a Democrat as we approach the next election he's going to run. Think of this.
Well, maybe that's because the Democrats have moved so far left. Now he's a part of them.
Exactly. That's exactly where I'm going with this. If you want to be a radical, crazy person screaming about things that can't make any sense and being as angry as Bernie Sanders, okay? When have you seen Bernie happy? No, Bernie is angry. Bernie, who's he going after? The big bankers, the 1%. Where did most of the money for the Democratic National Committee's funds that supported him come from? George Soros. We are talking about as corrupt as you can be, and then if all you have to do is say you believe something, and you'll get elected by uninformed voters who heard somebody say that Bernie Sanders said he was going to pay for all of your college debt. Somebody said Bernie Sanders said we weren't going to pay taxes anymore. We're just going to take it from the bankers. Bernie Sanders said, and then they vote for them. Absolutely zero education, zero information. Matter of fact, living on disinformation for the concept that socialism is good. If you want to be a socialist, name a socialist country that has been successful, please, and then we'll have a conversation. Until then, you are talking about pie in the sky, imaginary things that don't exist. So this person comes along and knocks out with only, it also showed that there was no wave for the blue. There's no blue wave, and there's not only a red wave, there's a red tsunami. The blue can't even get a ripple by throwing a big rock into the pond.
No, they have blue tears. We have red waves.
They have blue tears, and they had 10% turnout.
Yes.
10% turnout. In other words, a few votes determined that one of the most powerful Democrats in Congress was unseated by someone who just jumped up and said, "Hi, I'm a socialist and I want to impeach Trump." Bingo! Knocked out one of the most long-standing Democrats in Congress.
But the Democrats have actually done this to themselves, because if you also saw, I posted on Truth News headlines, where Crowley's money was coming from, over $1 million easily, and it was coming from all the suspects, the big companies and the corporations. And then his opponent had, just a social media, a social network that she could motivate. And the Democrats for a long time have used this underprivileged young socialist group to be their warriors on the street, because you don't think the bankers and the big companies are going to get out and do it. But now these young people are saying, wait a minute, I'm going to stand for this, and not necessarily for the banks.
I mean, these people, just like you say, are controlled by social media to the point that they don't know George Soros has brought down 14 color revolutions using social media, especially Facebook and its versions in different countries. And so they're out there fighting ICE agents. They're out there fighting the immigrations and customs to stop criminals from coming across the border, and they're willing to, they don't even understand what they're doing. I would love to debate any of these people, because their arguments are usually just talking points that they heard through their subliminal programming off the mainstream media.
But it shows that a young firecracker, I think she's, 28 years old, young firecracker can come along and light the base, and they will vote for her and not who the big bankers and corporations have set up to run.
Because, as you say, the Democratic Party is completely bankrupt. If a Pelosi is the leader, if a Maxine Waters is a leader, or a Chuck Schumer, or a Adam Schiff, or a disgusting Mark Warner are leaders, oh, they need to replace them all. And Nancy Pelosi lost it, dropped her teeth again when somebody said, what do you think about all this new blood coming into the Democratic Party? Okay, that isn't the way that it works. This is an old boys and old girls club here.
And that's the operative word, Thomas. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but old. The Democrats are old. I don't know if anyone has told them, you are going to die. You are mortal beings, and you have done nothing to bring up the young blood in the Democrat Party. So then you have these young firecrackers who have a great social network, and they're going to motivate the base. They don't need you anymore.
John McCain, perfect example. On his deathbed, then sends his wife in to vote the way that he wants, and if she can't go, he'll send his dog in, or his gardener, or his children, anybody that he can tell what to vote. That's all that matters, and then his followers will continue that. You should be embarrassed if you ever voted for John McCain. He's a liar. He's a cheater. He basically helped create the Trump dossier. He's a rhino. He's a fake. What can I say? These people got to go. And the people who've been there the longest are the most corrupt.
Okay. Next tweet. The Democrats are in turmoil. Open borders and unchecked crime a certain way to lose elections. Republicans are for strong borders, no crime, a big night.
He named some of the planks that are winning right now, because it's the emotional control of people by pictures of children who were separated from their parents. The picture that Trump is on Time magazine, they should be ashamed of. That child wasn't separated from her parent. Her parent was standing just a few feet away from her, and they both went off together. They were never separated. It's nothing but lies, and these manipulations through emotions, sentiment, through basically yelling that you are the party that is concerned with the poor, the downtrodden, all the different races, anyone who's a minority, anyone. No, that isn't what the Democrats are for. That's what they're for during an election. After an election, no, completely different. How about the Democrats who are not allowing Sarah Sanders Huckabee to go into a restaurant. You know, they want to harass them. Why isn't Maxine Waters in jail? Why aren't these Democrats like Pelosi and the corruption that we know that she has been perpetrating for a long time, why aren't they being looked at? They are being looked at. And 13 angry Democrat phrase of Trump over and over and over again caused them to then look at, oh, there are Democrats trying to refute Trump. He said 13, and he said there are no Republicans. Well, there was one Republican, a fake Republican, that would be Robert Mueller on the special investigation. But the other 13 angry Democrats are 13 angry Democrats. Plus, there's a lot more Democrats there, and they're all angry at Trump. So what's happening to the Democratic Party? It is dying. And the people like OPEC, any kind of, like the oil companies, anybody who has power wants to hang on to it, and they want to pass it on to their children through corruption so that, you know, they create a dynasty. That's what the Democrats have done. Look at Joe Biden and his son, the money that they basically manipulated through fraud and through manipulation, through political manipulation, through giving billions of dollars to Ukraine. Now, Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, sits on the largest liquid gas board of Ukraine. This is the way that it's paid off now. John Kerry, for his participation in the dossier and the conspiracy against Trump, his son gets a $1.5 billion deal with China a week after he was there. This is the way the Democrats do business. Hillary, pay for play. Hillary Clinton.
No, it's not pay for play. It's racketeering.
Racketeering. It's the worst of all of the excuses that it is a foundation that is philanthropic, which it is not. And even if it was, it has the worst record of any one that's ever existed in history. And so what we see from the Democrats is just absolute greed. And basically, every Democrat tends to create a family cabal, almost like a mafia. And then they try to continue their streams of money.
It is a mafia. Hillary Clinton is the daughter of a mafia boss, and so is Nancy Pelosi. So it really is, you know, they're doing what they've always done in their family. Okay, now the next one, it really was bothersome to me. It is a retweet. And when you get to the retweet, Twitter has decided that this is sensitive material and has a screen up there cautioning you about opening that tweet. I thought, what could the president have that would be so sensitive that I couldn't see it? Open it up, and it is a Garrison cartoon about a red wave. You have to be kidding me.
No. George Soros has taken over the European Union. No more free speech there. Pretty much taken over Britain, and has already put in place through Google and Eric Schmidt, who's still in hiding. He only came out for one meeting, and that was one of the Masters of the Universe meetings, which he supposedly isn't one of anymore. But they have the Google News feed. It's called the Digital News Initiative. And what they do, and this is beautiful because the other day we saw it, and it's perfect example. Underneath President Trump giving a wonderful piece of news, they ran something on the ticker tape below, which read that Paul Manafort had pleaded guilty to 5 counts of manslaughter. Well, everything that appears now on mainstream media, and by the way, Americans, recently in the last week, a poll says 72% of Americans believe that mainstream media is lying to them. So why is it, if 72% of Americans believe mainstream media is lying, are we setting up programs so that only what mainstream media says is the truth? It's going to be put into a Google system, and anything that isn't doing that will be called fake news and not only have warnings on it. The president's own Twitter account for a cartoon, because memes have all been stopped in Europe because they're so powerful that they're
weapons. They're information weapons.
Exactly. And they affect people very powerfully. And so that's what they did to him. And so they blocked it. But of course, for me, I saw that it had a little warning, so I was 10 times more interested in seeing it. And that's what's going to happen here in America.
Tell them about what happened to Facebook.
Facebook did that, and they started putting warnings on everything and little notes to say, no, here, go to Wikipedia and read the truth. And what happened? Many, many more people were interested in it than were before once they marked it as something that shouldn't be looked at. We're Americans. That's what we do.
So open up sensitive material from Twitter, because that's where your good stuff is. If it's really awful and horrendous and life-threatening, they won't put a screen on top of it. Now, if you wonder what in the world we're talking about, remember, folks, if you go into the description box below, there's a link. And if you click that link on, you'll see all the things that we're describing, plus be able to read the tweets along with us.
So free speech is being curtailed right here, right now, in front of us. Donald Trump, our president, is even subjected to having screening done by who? Who is screening this information? Who is telling us what we can read, what we can't? And these are just the beginning stages. This is how it started in Europe and Britain. And now you can't say anything bad about a refugee, even if they're killing someone, without you going to jail. And so we are watching Europe just be in advance of what we're going through, but we have different type of invaders coming across our southern border and through overstays on visas. And thank heavens that Trump now, well, we'll get to that in a minute, that he can stop these people from the countries that Obama bombed. I'm not upset with them. They were bombed illegally by President Barack Obama, who shouldn't be president because that wasn't even his name. And he had no permission and no approval of Congress, and certainly no approval of we the people in America. So what we're working with here is fantastic disinformation, but Americans know it. And now there's going to be AIs, supposedly, systems that Google is using, paid for by the Department of Defense. That would be the Board of Broadcasting Governors and the Global Engagement Center, to screen everything that Americans get to see. So especially right before an election, well, that, folks, is the end of America. And it demonstrates that we need to have the Second American Revolution to win back America the first time so that we can have freedom in America, freedom of speech and all the freedoms that the Constitution and U.S. Bill of Rights determines for we the people.
The next two tweets are pictures. The first one is of Donald Trump and Melania, and then the next one is of Gary Player at Turnberry. Did you have anything to say about those pictures?
I noticed his tie matched her outfit, and they look stunning. And I noticed that golfer had the most difficult sand shot I've ever seen. I've never seen a sand hole like that, a sand pit like that. That was amazing. Yeah, he loves his golf and he loves his wife, and they're the most beautiful presidential couple, I think, in U.S. history.
Yes. Well, they were certainly better than Big Mike and Barry. Okay, now we've got big and conclusive win by, I have to say his name, Mitt Romney. Congratulations. I look forward to working together. There's so much good to do. A great and loving family will be coming to D.C. He has no idea, Mitt, what has happened since he left Washington, does he?
No. Mitt better get on the MAGA train or he's going to be ran over it. It doesn't matter that he cheated. He paid off the people in every single district. He goes in like a predator politician like he did in Massachusetts. He just goes in, he finds the weakness wherever it is. He doesn't believe in that state. He doesn't believe in those people. He doesn't believe in what they're doing. He's not a Republican. He's a rhino, Republican in name only. He is Bain Capital, which is Velvet Bank, which makes him a Bushite. He might as well be one of Bush's sons. He's as corrupt as can be. Trump has already squared off with him multiple times and won in all instances. In this instance, unfit Mitt, doesn't even know he's being played.
No, he doesn't. But when he gets up there, he's going to be Donald's, and I can't use the word.
Well, he's going to do what Donald tells him to do, or he's going to be slapped down. And really what's happening, folks, in between the lines, this is what happened. This is what's happening. The evilest Republican on the Hill, everyone should know who that is, right? John McCain, who is he's not even a Democrat. He is a globalist war hawk who is only interested in his Raytheon stock and in his lying McCain International Institute, and in lying about Anthony Wood, and in lying about the dossier, and in lying about everything, and lying about ISIS. He is the one who basically convinced the White House to always lie about what they're doing and use the CIA. So when we were giving $1 billion a year to ISIS in Syria, that was John McCain's deal. John McCain is a meddler in all things, and he is literally one of the most evil people in American history. Upon reflection, 20 years from now, we will see that. Because he's right there at the heart of it. And his very people, Henry Kerner, we now find is the go-between between the Intelligence Committee, between the DNC, the Department of Justice, and all around town. And now he makes sure that no whistleblower ever comes to light. This is John McCain's assistant. So John McCain is being replaced by Mitt Romney. That is the deal. Is Mitt going to rise to the occasion? No, because John McCain has been slapped down because of Trump. And anyone who's a non-MAGA Republican is being and will be continuously slapped down, especially in the next elections. And anyone who doesn't support Trump and follow these planks that he keeps giving will be slapped down, and Mitt Romney does not follow those. Mitt Romney is an evil warlord banker parading as a politician so that he can affect political influence, which basically is controlling the press. Now that the press has no more control and 72% of Americans believe that they lie all the time, all you get is the political voices yelling. And that's what he's going to be, a political voice.
I don't recall the person that will be running against Mitt Romney. Obviously, it will be a Democrat in Utah. And I just wanted to point out, y'all make sure whoever that Democrat is, that the American intelligence media has already provided you with extensive opposition research on Mitt. We've got some really juicy things on our site. So take a look and use it against him. Next tweet. Congratulations to Maxine Waters, whose crazy rants have made her, together with Nancy Pelosi, the unhinged face of the Democrat Party. Together they will make America weak again. But have no fear. America is now stronger than ever before, and I am not going anywhere. I do have to say about that last bit, Thomas, I've seen people were writing in saying, hey, what is all this about Mitt Romney, about Donald Trump not running in 2020? What's up with that? And then I would ask them, well, where are you getting this information? I'm not going to tell you where, but it's at one of our prominent alternative media sites that was hyping that Trump is not going to run in 2020.
Yeah, that person I have made direct remarks about to say that person who made that remark and previously made it before some months ago, as if he had gotten it from the inside. That person's unhinged. He's much like Pelosi and much like Maxine Waters at certain moments. At other moments, he's absolutely astute and brilliant. So I don't know what to do with that person. But Trump is running in 2020. He's already filed. He's already started his campaign. This is his campaign, folks. When we yell plank, 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 and we yell win, 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 those are the winners who are going to be supporting him in those planks in the next presidential election 2020, where they are going to be a red tsunami. And it's a magma red tsunami that just absolutely wipes out everything in front of it. Now, what's going on here? As we said, we made this lovely analogy that the two-faced Democratic Party has Nancy Pelosi on one side screaming until her teeth fall out of her head, doesn't know who the president is, doesn't know where she is. And on the other side, you have Maxine Waters, who may actually, in fact, be canned. Certainly, she may be censored. Certainly, she has already been told to back off. She won't back off. So she continues and repeated, did not apologize, her attacks and her requests for seditious inciting of riots. It's very clear what she says. I listened to it again and again. There's no way. In a court of law, she loses. So she's unhinged on one side, Nancy Pelosi's on the other side, and good. I hope neither one of them get removed. I hope they just keep blabbing their mouths, because every time they do, they sound like insane people. And if that's who Democrats want to support, then they should be embarrassed. Now, I love Trump's phrase. They, that'd be Pelosi and sweet Maxine, want to make America weak again. I just thought that was the greatest. Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. They literally have their planks in their party say, open borders. That's insane and that's illegal. In other words, they are again preaching sedition. Open borders is sedition. Sanctuary states, sedition. Sanctuary cities, sedition. Catch and release, sedition. This is riots. There are riots in the streets. And those streets, oftentimes it is, in fact, the very people who came across the southern border who are doing the rioting and the drugs that came across the southern border.
And the people on the far, far left, the extreme left, the communist social democrats.
Trump ain't going nowhere. It says right here. We predicted that, of course, he's going to have 2 terms, and it's highly likely that the next person elected after that will not be from the opposing party. Whatever it's called at that time, they will be winners. So the Trump team, the Trump train is going to keep on going, not only now and through 2020, but in the next election. I don't care who they run. As long as they run on a Trump platform, they'll win.
The next tweet is in big caps, so I take that to mean that this is a very important tweet. House Republicans should pass the strong but fair immigration bill known as Goodlatte 2 in their afternoon vote today, even though the Dems won't let it pass in the Senate. Passage will show that we want strong borders and security while the Dems want open borders, equal crime. Win.
If you've ever been subject to the crime of open borders, then you know what he's talking about here. This is a huge, huge plank. They should be using this, it's all caps, for the election. Every one of them should be voting for this, as he says, because if they all vote for it, then it will really get in the news. And it'll show that Paul Ryan is a Republican in name only, and that he's actually working for the Democratic Party and their planks and what their agenda is. Because his stupid proposal is just completely way off base, has nothing to do with Trump. This one has a little more to do with Trump. Trump would probably still veto it. But what he did was he sent some messages on how to improve it. They did improve it. And if it gets passed, what it says to all immigrants is Republicans love you. And we're looking after you. We want to create legislation that helps new immigrants, current, DACA, all of you. Let's get the laws corrected. Let's get the ways to come into the country corrected. Let's secure the border. Let's be vigilant on our visas. And let's stop immigration from the countries that our president tells us to stop them from coming from, because the Supreme Court supports that, because that's the Constitution.
Well, another thing, too, is he is actually showing these politicians how to do the art of the deal. Because what he's doing is he's isolating them, the Democrats and the Republicans in the House, isolating them, having them state how they vote, knowing full well that it won't get through the Senate, but even if it did, he's there to veto it. So the move here is to show the American people who the House representatives really are.
And he's saying, do you want to be Democratic or obstructionist from the Democratic Party? Or do you want to do something to move something forward, since it is congressional authority that creates immigration law, not the president? He creates security at the borders. He can stop the people from coming into our country, and that's what the Supreme Court just approved. He wants all of them to say, don't worry, this isn't going to go past the Senate because obstructionist Chuck Schumer is not going to let it. He's already said not one single vote will be given, and it won't get past the Senate anyway. So this is a vote of good faith to get immigration law on the table, to start with something, because now the Senate can take that and work from it. But if there isn't anything passed, you can't work with it, and they won't come to the table to discuss anything. The Democrats won't discuss anything. Remember, they walked out of the meetings. President Trump tried this from the beginning with DACA, and what did they do? They walked out of the meetings and accused him of saying things that they said. That's the way that it goes with the Democrats. It's all obstructionism. So he's telling them, if they're smart, they'll all vote, they'll all pass it. And then the low-informed people out there will say, yeehaw, the Republicans are going to give us amnesty. No, they're not. They're going to create good laws. And those laws, under some cases, the president can recommend amnesty. We haven't seen that work well with any president ever before, but that can happen for specific causes that usually have to do with natural emergencies, natural disasters, emergencies, political upheaval, so on and so forth. But no, what we need, and what is the moving forward to show the whole world that America is about to tackle the issue of stopping the worst immigration laws in the world, the ones that are not even being followed, that even with the ones that we have, And even if they did, that wouldn't stop it. So what we need is new immigration laws, and then to have all those laws enforced with zero tolerance.
I think you're preaching to the choir. I think our listeners are pretty well on board with that. So let's move on to the most exciting news today in the tweet. Supreme Court rules in favor of non-union workers who are now, as an example, able to support a candidate of his or her choice without having those who control the union deciding for them. Big loss for the coffers of the Democrats.
Because what is that? That is block voting. And when you get, and by the way, I just want to point out, usually the block of the unions votes for the Democrats, but now they've turned and they're saying, nope, we're going to split our block. AFL-CIO and other groups, other unions have said, nope, we're not voting as a block. We're going to vote our conscience, because their conscience is going towards Trump. And so what we're seeing, that it's strange to believe that federal agencies and the people who work in them have unions that represent them, that they must pay to be part of those unions. And then those unions represent them and do whatever they want. And those members, have a modicum of participation in how this block goes, how money is donated, how influence is used, how power is used in
Well,
DC.
they're saying, hey, we got you the job, now you got to give us a little payola, and then that pays for our candidates.
Kickbacks are common in all of these things, and they have been, and for some reason it seems as though it will never stop. And racketeering is common. And so what we get here is things like the U.S. Chamber of Commerce that takes donations from everybody, washes the money, launders the money, so you don't know where it came from, and it can even come from foreign governments. And then they turn around and give the biggest blocks of money almost as a union to the Democrats and to the Republicans. And their leadership of those parties doles out the money to only those good union members who vote the way they tell them to vote. Hello? How does that have anything to do with freedom or representation, or that these people that we send to Washington are representing their constituency? They don't. They don't. And unions, what are they doing? They are block voting. And super PACs, same thing. We should eliminate all super PACs, that corporations can donate, and oftentimes through very illegal methods, to campaigns massively with donations that are far beyond what an individual can make, should be illegal. There should be no super PACs. There should be no corporate influence. There should be no lobbying influence whatsoever in our government. Otherwise, it is an a priori assumption that it is corrupt and that it is run by money. No person running for office should have to buy it the way that unfit Mitt Romney is doing out there in Utah. They just go and they buy these elections, folks, in case you don't understand that. We are in a situation where corporations buy their candidates and make sure that their lobbying influences have a very good ear.
Well, workers are waking up. They realize that the Trump platform will keep jobs here in America and even bring jobs into America. But of course, the corporate owners of these companies see greater benefits and be running their operations where there's cheap labor. Well, you can't. This is going to be a civil war, so to speak, within companies themselves. The workers want a MAGA. They want to be on the Trump train. And the owners want to be globalists and rape America.
Harley Davidson.
Yes, you knew I was leading right into this tweet. Harley Davidson should stay 100% in America with the people that got you your success. I've done so much for you. And then this. Other companies are coming back where they belong. We won't forget, and neither will your customers or your now very happy competitors, which I want to say is I love the idea of Indian motorcycles. They're going to ramp things up, and they can just take that market from Harley.
Well, they will, and it's a huge market in the East, and it's because Harley wants to get into, the East and China particularly. As China becomes a capitalist totalitarian nation and communist, and by totalitarian I mean absolute 1984 controlling everyone and everything that is going on in China. Harley Davidson will make a fortune, but they came out, I think, today or yesterday and criticized Trump and said he's an idiot, doesn't know anything about tariffs, and they're going to make more money, blah, blah, blah. No, lie. You're stupid. You're stupider than stupid. He already has shown that none of the economists out there know what they're talking about. He's winning. And now the economists, everyone, everywhere, and especially the people he's dealing with, are coming out saying, okay, you win. Okay, we have to give up the ghost and stop saying that, we're going to go into a trade war with you. There's no trade war. There's no trade war. There cannot be any trade war. We have lost the trade war. All we're doing is pulling back so that we don't lose so much. And that in itself is considered a trade war, but people are so stupid that they don't understand that China overproduces in goods. They underproduce in food. They'll starve to death without us.
And they don't consume what they produce.
Precisely.
They need a consumer country.
We're 85% self-sufficient in this country, and I say anyone who wants to go in a trade war with us, harm them even more, and make Americans go back to manufacturing whatever it is that we're getting from these other countries, because we can do all of it. And the fact that we farmed it out is because the globalists have entered into our corporate system and basically taken over and gutted America as a vampire, as leeches or parasites. It's disgusting what's happened. And so, Harley Davidson, you're wrong. We know your play for China. Thailand is just going to be your first stop. As I pointed out when we discussed this the other day, no idiot would move manufacturing to Thailand. That's just plain insanity. The state can take over all of it because you blinked an eye.
Well, goodness,
improperly.
I hope you don't have any Harley Davidson stock.
Well, what's going to happen is, as we said, they can move. There'll be another Harley Davidson open up that mimics them here in America. And as you said, the MAGA followers will simply move on over and continue to make them somewhere else. They won't get back into this country, and they won't be able to repatriate their money, and they will not make more money. And when they make cheaper things, then the branding will be gone. Trump loves Harley Davidson because it's just like the Trump brand. It's national, international. Everyone knows it for high quality. It is going to be flushed down the toilet. As a matter of fact, watch what happens as their seemingly megalomaniac board members and directors are going to attack Trump and his trade deal. They need to sit back and be quiet, as we've told you before. Until the deal is done, don't get upset with the back and forth. That's ridiculous. That's like going in and stopping a bickering or a bartering that's going on and getting upset with what's happening in the middle of it. That's ridiculous. Congress needs to get their nose out of it. Corporations need to stand back and take benefits that he's already given them in tangible forms, and they need to see where these trade deals are going to be taken, which is going to be nothing but winning for America.